So we were talking about the 2020 Vision Project.
Yeah. So my vision going into 2020 when it comes to LinkedIn and what I want to do with my content and all of my media is I would like to I want to demonstrate the easiest way possible for others out there to get inspired and be able to create their own content.
Let's start with what's normal, right? In the LinkedIn world, what's probably the number one thing that the key to success for LinkedIn is this?
Having a successful profile
That's
and filling in all of the blocks.
I see that all over. Complete your profile.
And,
as if, like, the articles that I've read that's where it ends. Like, you want success on LinkedIn? Complete your profile.
Complete profile.
Okay.
And then go out there and talk to people.
Right.
Because that's easy for you to do. Right. Especially when we talk about other social media platforms right now and historically, right? That, people have been more reserved because you could be fat, you could be ugly, you could be a racist, you could be all these other negative terms, you could be, a hipster, a libtard. I mean, they all go out there on and on and on, a Trumpster, where LinkedIn is, for me, a place where I can organically tailor my network to individuals that bring value, where I can avoid different opinionated weighted sides when it comes to the larger things out of our control.
More like Facebook. Like Facebook is really polarized in that way.
Yeah. And let's go back to that real quick. For me, the way I see Facebook and, some of the other social media platforms and the way that I use them now is because I haven't gotten to that point of creating the personal branding side like I should with multiple media platforms on a professional aspect. So as much as I love them, right? You go to Facebook, a lot of it is family and friends, battle buddies, other people that are sitting out there that are using it like what consumers would use social media for. They would look at an opinion or they put something up, maybe they celebrate somebody or maybe they bash somebody, they're very opinionated on there. Where LinkedIn is the pros, in my eyes. You're putting up content and, in LinkedIn, it's crazy because instead of getting bashed, you just get ignored. And that right there, I think if you let's just say you took a lot of the population off of one of the other social media platforms and they can't even get anybody to tell them that they suck. Wow.
Let's zoom out even further.
Yeah.
Because I agree with what you just said, but I think giving a visual for this is important. So the way that I look at almost everything is it uses this visual. Think of a scale, okay? A scale has a far left and a far right. Mm-hmm. And I really want to look at these social media platforms in their lifetime, okay? Because there are social media platforms that have an end, a beginning and an end.
Right, and they all do, and they will.
Right. Mm-hmm. Facebook will not be here forever. LinkedIn may not be here forever. Nope. So that indicates that we are somewhere on that sliding scale. Right? Facebook, I jumped on Facebook in, I want to say 2000, may have been 2009, somewhere in that ballpark. So I was fairly on the left end of that spectrum.
Right.
But we're still in it, right? There's a ... at the left end or at the right end because we haven't ended it yet.
Right.
Something like Vine does not have that ... on the right-hand side. It has a line. It ended, right?
It is what it is.
So over that sliding scale, the environment changes. So every move, every tick mark that we've hit in that sliding scale, the environment changes. And so when we think about, even though Facebook doesn't have an end yet, it's changed dramatically. I mean, dramatically over time. It started as something that it wasn't even, looking at it now, it wasn't even designed to be that when it was started, right? Nobody, when they started Facebook, they never thought it would get to the point that it is now. I really believe they didn't think that. And LinkedIn, it really acts the same way. And so we have to keep in mind that the platforms and how they're used, the audiences that they're targeting, or let's call it the bigger population that's using that platform changes over time. Facebook started just for one college, and then it was a couple of colleges, and then it was an area of colleges, and then it was all colleges, and now it's everybody.
Everybody, all the time, everywhere.
Yep. So thinking about how that started And now the fact that college kids don't even use Facebook, like we've come full circle, and we've completely eliminated the original base that I think it was used for. And now it's used for exactly that. It's battle buddies. It's personal friends.
Right.
It might be a little bit networking. Like I have a lot of real estate agents and real estate professionals on mine that are, and I'm pretty active on Facebook still. But I use it primarily for business and memes.
Yeah.
I don't really use it for anything else other than that.
Right.
But there are a lot of people who still view Facebook as being a business tool, and that is how I view it as well. We've got our Puget Sound Underground brand on Facebook. We've got the Operation Red Dots. We've got all these different things that are on Facebook. But when you look at LinkedIn, what did LinkedIn start as? Let's go to the far left side of that sliding scale. What was LinkedIn in the very beginning, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think LinkedIn in the very beginning was just a new wave of technology for recruiting.
Yeah, a job board, ultimately. I viewed it...
A job board / headhunting. Yeah.
Yes, I viewed it in the very beginning like Monster.com or Indeed or anything like that, where if I was looking to go network or even just to go see what jobs were out there, like LinkedIn was where I went, right? Yep. And now it is, I think a lot of people agree that we're looking a lot more like Facebook 2009, 2010, where it's become more of a content platform. Yeah. Where there's still a lot of networking and the demographic is still very geared towards professional. Yeah. There's not a lot of, I'm not posting baby pictures on there or, maybe my, vacation trips I might post, but for the most part, it's business related content by business related people still. Right. But that, I really do think LinkedIn is in one of those transition periods where the demographic is starting to change a little. It is. The purpose is starting to change a little. It is. And what that means is the algorithm is changing a little.
Bro, let me put this in perspective for you. Think about this. You go to LinkedIn and you go back to, pardon me, you go back to where it started and for the user experience of what you would have been allowed to do with it as a business owner or a job seeker. The only two things you could do with it is either go find someone to work for you or go find someone to work for. And when you look at the way that, not just with LinkedIn, but just with the way that society is going and the way you see technology going to the digital age like they should, it's much more than that. So LinkedIn and what we're doing right now has this huge opportunity to make some of the other predominant tools that you would need in the past completely obsolete, So when we sit back and, for instance, let's take this. One of the things that I put on my resume is that I have good organizational skills. One of the things that I'll throw on a resume is my ability to publicly speak and speak well. So you can put that on a resume and, let's say Private First Class Snuffy over to the left here creates a resume. Or no, let's go even deep. Let's say Sergeant Major.
There we go.
Snuffy.
Yeah.
Submits a resume and has all these credentials and has all this experience and lays it down in front of an organization. Now let's go back to Private Snuffy, who happens to know technology and does a podcast. You're sitting there as an organization having to make a decision. Do you want to go off of Sergeant Major's words? And I'm sure Sergeant Major can, probably come through and deliver. I'm fully confident in that. Or could you just watch and experience it? We have the ability right now to develop content at a whole nother level that I don't know why we still film commercials. I don't know who's selling it, what soulless person is selling commercial slots. And I don't know what naive individuals are out there soaking up that real estate when what do you do when the commercials come on?
I mute well, first of all, I don't have cable. That's okay. I want to make that clear. I'm very particular about having platforms.
Which is important, by the way, because there's a large population, to including, what I've discussed with Stephanie in my own home, of, maybe we should ditch this. I mean, we still have it for now, news and sports. And I know before people blow up the comments of, just go to all these websites and download all this stuff that works most of the time, But going back to your point, go ahead with
real quick. I just bought a new Vizio TV. Yeah, and it came with something called Pluto TV, which is 150 channels. Which, by the way, comes with Comedy Central. I like it for NASA TV because that's a fun channel to watch, and doesn't have commercials. Right. But it has news and all that other kind of stuff. But it came for free. 150 channels. There's no cable. It just is and there's an app that you can get and all that kind of different stuff. So, but I like watching the trends of where cable and direct TV are going. And I mean, people are ditching them by the millions because they're turning into Blockbuster, where there's a new piece of technology and they're not adapting to it.
That's it.
And it's like, why do I need DirecTV? Why do I need Comcast Cable or any of these other entities when I just bought a TV and it came with it.
Yeah.
I don't have to have a subscription. I don't have to pay for it. It just came with what I bought. And I have to wonder, so to your point about us producing content, there's a quick story that I want to tell. I had a guy, a brother of mine, a veteran brother, come to me, and he's like, hey, he's high level, works in Seattle. And he came to me, he's like, I want to start getting into conversations with higher level people in my industry. And I want to look for a new position. And he's fairly tech savvy, not quite on our level, but he's definitely up there. And he's like, can you give me any advice? And I said, are you on LinkedIn? He said, yes. I said, okay. My opinion is you go, forget looking for a job. Just identify what kind of job you want, or specifically what kind of company appeals to you. And then we need to do a little bit of due diligence and find out who are the decision makers or who are the bosses in the different departments that you would be qualified for. And let's go create a 30-second, for lack of a better term, elevator pitch of why you would be a good fit, or why, not even why you would be a good fit, but why you like their company.
Right.
Let's talk about, why are you a user of their products? Do you have any experience with the company or the industry in that space? And let's identify the top 45 companies or people that you want to target, and let's create a separate video, similar content, but they'll all start different. Hey, John, my name's blank. I think I would be I'd like to open up a conversation with you. And let's direct message those people with the video that's tailored to them specifically. Right? So that kind of an idea, it's very simple, right? It's what I'm talking about is not difficult, doesn't need to be post-produced, but it's specifically targeted. We did a little bit of due diligence to figure out who these specific people are. What are their names?
Right.
What's their position?
Right.
And we're going to target them specifically. So now instead of sending them a resume going, hey, look at me, here's who I am, I'm tailoring media, a video that's targeted specifically to them. So this isn't just when I'm blasting out resumes, it's pretty clear that I'm blasting out resumes.
Sure. And they're important still. Yeah.
Dear company, I'm James. Hire me. Here's my resume and cover letter.
I'm smart.
Yeah.
I've done things.
Yeah. I'm a good public speaker.
I should be able to do them for you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Exactly. So the way that we interact with the people who are decision makers when it comes to jobs, dramatically changing.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. And then the thing too is I like what you said there. And to go back to that, you said to go in and tell an organization why you want to work there. Let's back it up 2 more steps. Let's ask yourself if you truly even still like that organization before you send that message. Serious.
100%.
Like with what's at our disposal and what's in front of us, people are so afraid to say, well, I don't want to talk to company so-and-so. And I'm not going to start throwing companies out there because I don't think there's a bad company. But company so-and-so. But the desperation of the fact that they linger a good benefits package and a 6-figure salary in front of you, and you've gone to school and committed yourself to go and do that job in that field no matter what, people are a little more reluctant to say, I like your services and I'm a member as well, but I don't think I'd be a good employee for you. And a lot of people, they see the grit, kind of like how we're doing this, right? There's bloopers. We've had bumps in the road. A lot of people don't see that at the end, when you polish everything, it's flawless. There's no mistakes. It's been looked over a couple times. And it's the same thing in work. It's like, well, I like to be a part of that project to make that type of money, but are you willing to go through what it takes to be a 6-figure person, a 7-figure person? Like, it's not just you've made it, now you're paid.
So let's zoom out even further.
Sure.
Right? Because we talked about the sliding scale, but specifically in the context of social media platforms where it has a beginning and an end. Let's zoom out even further. Do we have that same sliding scale? Our life has a beginning and an end. The world and the generation or the time in society that we currently live in also has a beginning and an end. So I really feel like people from previous generations or people who are trained by previous generations they pigeonhole themselves into this is how it's done. We submit resumes, we apply for jobs, and that's just how it is.
Right.
When in reality, in my opinion, and I'm an entrepreneur, so I have a little bit of a different perspective.
Sure.
Because I do look at myself every day in the mirror and say, what do I want to do? What am I passionate about? And I execute on that.
As you should.
Right. But there's a lot of W-2 people or 1099 contractors who feel that the only role here is for the company to interview them. And if they like me, then they're going to hire me and I get that job. As opposed to, I really need to reflect, what am I passionate about? What am I happy? Even if it's a W-2 job, I'm not crapping on W-2 jobs here. I just think it's important to be self-reflective in the beginning to say, what do I love? What am I passionate about? And what do I want to do? And then turn the table just enough to say, yes, I recognize that you're going to interview me and you need to make sure that I'm the right person to be on your bus,
Right.
that you're putting me in the right seat. But I also need to turn that table a little bit and interview you.
Facts.
Or only be pursuing or applying for positions and employment that I believe not only can I complete the job, right? Do I have the talent to actually complete the work? But can I wake up every day and be passionate about going to work?
Sure.
There's too many people that, we talk about the rat race.
Yep.
They're just doing the job.
Yep.
They're not in the slightest passionate about what they do, and that's not sustainable.
But what are they doing it for?
Money, right?
So that they can buy stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
To impress people that they don't like.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. But I think for the people who are in this position, before even thinking about what job do I want to go do, or who should I go apply for, how do I build a resume, or how do I build an elevator pitch, which all are important things, don't get me wrong. But I think it starts with mindset.
And maybe, to go back, to the beginning, maybe, the resume is important. You should always have that going. But maybe you should build a reputation. Maybe you should define yourself. And once you feel like you've defined yourself, step out in the world and let people know what that definition is.
That's so
And
powerful.
then see if it doesn't create its own opportunity. Like, I've got this thing where my beacon is off, and I'm out there engaging day in, every night, every day on LinkedIn, other people's stuff, commenting, sharing, liking, putting up my own organic content, and when you see messages come in the DMs that are asking you, hey, know that you said that your recruiter toggle's off and you're currently not looking for employment, but we're just curious. Maybe you're at a stepping stone in your life and you're willing to come work for us. I'm getting job offers right now without a resume.
Your beacon's off.
But I wonder that if more people were able to gather the courage to be able to do that, if it could not, I don't want it to take over the resume or the process, but maybe it would just once again be an additive. It goes back to being an NCO, right? Non-commissioned officer, for all you civilians out there who don't understand the term NCO, it's a non-commissioned officer. We always, talk to our troops and talk to our folks when we're leading them not to develop a half-assed perspective, right? Why limit yourself in a limitless world? And that's what I'm imploring everybody to really go out and understand for themselves is why are you going to limit yourself in a limitless world? And if you want to talk about how crazy it is, and if you want to talk about how much time it takes, then go and ask your parents and grandparents before the internet came along and see how far they were able to make it. How many of them died with great ideas and dreams and never had the platform to go put it out? And now my fear is, now that we have the capability, that as a culture, there's all this fear of practitionership versus pontification, that there's other individuals out there that are a little bit confused on the two and don't want to come off or don't want to give the impression that they're of the negative group in which everybody else bashes, so they feel it better that they just shut up.
Yeah.
And that's innovation that goes out the door. Those are ideas to fix some of these really organic, complex issues that they're like, well, maybe when I get in there, maybe they'll give me a voice at the big round table to pitch my idea. Maybe this, maybe that. And I'm asking, why is it maybe? Get on there, upload, post, experience it. And at least at that moment, you'll either define yourself as this is great and it wasn't as bad, kind of like riding a bicycle, your first kiss. You laugh about it, or maybe it's a tragedy and you really do not say anything forever. But I would be willing to bet that the people that would try to get out and engage or come up with their own content, kind of like we've been doing, they would find themselves writing their own story or their own book. They'd find themselves revisiting memories. They'd find themselves reconnecting with themselves. They'd find themselves reconnecting with the ones that they love and learn more about what's going on in this crazy monotony we call life. And then others would get inspiration to do the same. And if you have that cadence of that revolving door of, I'm going to do it, I'm going to find success, I'm going to show others, someone else is going to do it, someone else is going to find success, somebody else is going to do it a little bit differently, somebody else is going to be loud and clear to me, either it be positive or negative, on how different they do things in their situation and how successful they might be in their situation. And then from there, I'm going to sit back and go, I never thought of that. From there, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to go, maybe that'll work as well. And now we've put together a puzzle unknowingly, and now the whole thing's grown for both of us. And now we look back at the next crowd and say, you're shy, you'd like to get your story out there. Start with video 1. By the time you get to video 900, you're going to be producing your own content, and you're going to add to the library of the 1,000 to 2,000, and the next generation from the 2,000 to the 3,000, the way it should be, right?
I'd argue that although I believe courage is important, I don't think that's the first step. I think courage is the third step. Mm-hmm. So let's rewind just a little bit.
Yep.
Because I have a very analytical mind.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Army in combat taught me 90% preparation, 10% execution.
Absolutely.
So what you're talking about is important, and you do have to have the courage to get in front of a camera or a microphone. There is a certain level of, you need to get out there and do it and not worry about what other people think, and that's, I think, a conversation for another time.
Yep.
It's critical. But we're talking about you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And my 90-10 rule dictates that if I want to try something new, which this is a great example of, I need to build a plan and at least have an idea. I'm not saying it needs to be like we're going to have the exact roadmap for what's going to happen, but I do need to know where my big benchmarks are. Right. I need to know what my end game is. I have to think strategically, just like I would in a combat mission. Okay, we have an area of operation, right? I want to live in the Seattle market. Okay, I want a job in the Seattle market. I'm just using that as an example, right? So we have a geographic area. We have resources, which I would consider to be the different employers that are out there. We have a strategy. We have tools. But it's about how do we put all those together. Right. So the courage to get in front of the camera and start producing content, or maybe not even being in front of the camera, but just producing content in
just
general.
Hitting post.
Yeah, exactly. Just getting out there. I think that's critical. But I think it starts with an understanding of what are the different pieces of this puzzle. Right? I view so much like a 5,000-piece puzzle.
Yeah.
What if I dumped out a 5,000-piece puzzle on this table right now, but took the box with me? What would you do? If I gave you the task to say, put this puzzle together, there are 3-4 major phases maybe. We're going to find the corner pieces first, put those in place. We're going to separate all of the regular pieces from the edge pieces, and we're going to put the edge together so we've got our boundary. And then you're going to color code the middle pieces and then start piecing that together.
Sure.
Right? This is no different.
Right.
This is this theory of, hey, we want to put our opinions and we want to build a reputation on a social space. The beacon's off. The beacon doesn't even need to be on. The resume doesn't even need to be made. None of that is even relevant. It's important if you're actively looking. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying don't do a resume, but where we're at in the sliding scale of LinkedIn does not necessarily require a resume. Mm-mm. I think you can do all of this by building that reputation through content, by putting your opinions, by putting your ideologies, by putting your work ethic out there for everybody to see.
Right.
And in a way that people are going to view this content, and then you're going to start getting DMs. Yeah. And that's kind of what this project is all about, is showing, in my opinion, the shift that LinkedIn is going through right now in the job space, where it isn't what it was 5 years ago.
Right.
Where 5 years ago, I probably would have had a much heavier opinion on, your resume needs to be tight.
Your objective, your skills.
Yeah. Here's the format for what a good resume looks like. And that probably was going to be the end of it, because that's what LinkedIn wants.
And I think to get employment, all that stuff is still important. But I think what people need to realize is that you don't have to forget your LinkedIn password once you get a job. And I am living proof of that right now. just conversations with other professionals on what they have going on. They're in search of things all the time. I'm in the nonprofit world. I really am. And the great organizations out there that are looking to do good, and particularly with the military community, they don't even know how to get in front of the military community. And so that's where the conversation starts. Now, where I come in and I'm doing something, or so I'm told right now, and I by no means have nothing to back this up other than theory and what people have told me, is the approach dictates the outcome of that engagement. I'm not a business-to-business guy. I have business-to-business folks in my organization that I can take these entities to and these conversations, but they're seeing the content come out and they're saying, hey, how do we hire military individuals? Or we have spots available. We'd like to bring in more military spouses. How do we get in front of them? How do we tell them what we have available? How do we help? Where do we go with the translation process? And now we've started something new with LinkedIn to where that is the platform to search for the opportunity and initiate the conversation that turns into the phone call, that turns into the meeting, that turns into the sit down, that turns into wrapping up the deal, essentially. But it all starts there, and they get that look of, let's do business, or what can we do about this? And the other thing that people need to realize with social media and where it kind of gets out of control is sometimes that's not defined based off of your content or what you're pushing. And I don't care what anybody has to tell me. I will argue until you lock out my account. It is not where it's at. If you have 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 followers, nobody's going to care what you're talking about. As long as it's legal, moral, and just, they're going to want to get in front of that audience as well, because this is a game of the edges. Everybody's trying to get to the edge so that they can see what everybody's going after in the middle, and they can pick from it. They are then in control of their situation. They're in control of their marketing. They're in control of where they need to go. And they have the best insight. If you can understand what is going on social media, you have the best seat to view the changes that are coming. When you talk about these bars and these boundaries of, birth to death when it comes to platforms and stuff like that, you get to see it. And I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see, in my opinion, when you're dealing with social media and all of a sudden you're not getting options that are pushed to you. Maybe the app update isn't as often as it used to be. Are they gearing up to spring out something new that's going to change that platform specifically? Or is something else coming?
There's something to keep in mind here, too. Over time, these programs are not just building software perks and features for their own benefit.
Yeah.
What they're doing is we're all beta testers for these platforms. And I think people don't see that. And so like Instagram was such a prime example lately where they took away the ability to see likes.
Yep.
People lost their freaking mind
Absolutely.
Because they built their entire reputation on, I have X amount of followers, or this post got 100,000 likes, or whatever it is, and now people can't see that.
And I think Twitter just announced a couple days ago, too, that they're going to take away the ability to comment on certain things.
That's right.
Or how they're going to do that. Or Facebook's now looking at, whatever, I forget the term they use, something like a real video versus a fake video versus a real fake video. And I guess the real fake video is where you could take somebody and really alter them.
Yeah,
with
deepfakes. Yeah,
deepfakes.
Yeah.
I mean, forgive me, I'm just new to this. I'm just the man with the mouth, but I'm learning. But it's crazy on how now they could say, oh, yeah, it's cool to, throw something completely derogative around this individual. But if you slow them down and make them sound drunk, and I'm sitting back going, I got a bunch of buddies that are getting drunk just to be on Facebook.
Right.
And that's what they do.
So it's really funny we bring up deepfakes. I just had a cybersecurity expert in the studio on the Puget Sound Underground talking about deepfakes specifically. We talked about a lot of different things, but deepfakes came up. And because deepfakes, the technology in deepfakes just hit another benchmark.
Yep.
And AI now has the ability. So I could sit here just like I am right now, but the AI technology behind deepfakes allow me to make me look like I'm Joe Rogan and sound like I'm Joe Rogan.
Right. And then you can say whatever you want.
It looks to the consumer, and I'm talking about real video, it's not doctored, it's just the AI doing its program. It looks like I'm Joe Rogan.
Wow.
And there, mostly this has been used for memes and stuff like that. So there was a video, what was it? Dr. Frankenstein, I think, did a video where he took the Full House intro.
Yep.
and turned all of the characters into Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. And it was one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen. It was absolutely hilarious. But it looks, I mean, you can't look more real than that. It was so realistic. And other than the fact that obviously Ron Swanson is not a woman, it's hard to tell. It really is hard to tell. It looks like the post-production was solid. But now this becomes a question of exactly that. If I can manipulate what you think is real, I can manipulate your opinion on a lot of different things. And that can be dangerous.
And I think that's where the tutorial comes in and gets real strong too, because you can manipulate me however you want to try to manipulate me. But if I say, hey, look, on Wednesday mornings when you wake up, you have 50 pieces of organic content ready to go out the door. You've taken one last scrub and you don't have any time to edit or think. And by 8 o'clock, you're shooting off your first one. And then you're going to tag some folks. And then some other folks are going to jump in. And then you're going to spend your evening sitting there thinking and replying and, you know, just showing the gratitude to every single person that has commented on your stuff, and then go accept, you know, what comes from that. And people don't realize, they're like, well, I'm going to throw out organic content and it's going to be great. You know, it depends on how you do it. So for me, whenever I get an invite to connect with somebody, I don't care if they've sent me a message or not. I'm sending them a message for thanking them for taking the time out of the day, or feeling that they've either got some merit or been tricked at least to be a part of my network. I'm going to thank them for their time for doing that, because with everybody else out there, I'm appreciative that they're in my network. That could add up a lot. There's times where I jump on, like I just did the Military Spouse Technical Academy for Microsoft. And, you know, that was like 15, 20 connection requests off the bat. And in there's, you know, when people come and they want to connect with you and they have like a proposition for a partnership or an idea or something that they would like you to help them with, or they're trying to scalp you to come work for their company, whatever that might look like, right? You know, you have to be mindful to not only read that, but also have a thoughtful response, because you're on the clock.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't want anybody sitting there and waiting for you to make your decisions. So you got to move quickly. And sometimes that means you have to pivot to your calendar. Sometimes you have to take it to other professional platforms. Most of the time, or at least in my case, most of the time, I have to bring in a lot of other people to really validate what's going on here and see if like we can really commit and come through to our side of the obligation of what this could be, or really analyzing and interpreting what this deal might look like. I mean, there's heavy implications with it, you know, and there's a lot of money to be left on the table if you think all I'm going to do is go chase the likes and have people follow me and just blow up. I mean, what are you cultivating for? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish?
Do you accept every LinkedIn invitation request that you get?
No.
What's your filter system look like for that? Because I'm the same way, by the way.
Yeah. So what I'll generally do is it's kind of hard to explain. And this is where certain LinkedIn aspects I can say and support that are important. If you have an incomplete profile, it's not happening. And then for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to check out, you know, your history, and I can see pretty fast. Like there was, for instance, I'll tell you a quick story. There was an individual that reached out to me. He was based out of the East Coast, and he was basically, him and his wife were deploying out to different homes and bringing in simple workout routines in the home for people that didn't want to go to the gym or things of that nature. And they're looking to expand nationally to get other people to go into their neighborhoods, into homes, and help other individuals out with you know, doing these workout routines and things of that. One of the things when it comes to certain aspects that I'm really, really fishy about is, you know, the amount of trust they toss in my lap. I don't care how many followers I have a skill set, and, you know, home workouts is not one of my niches. And then you got to look at the other altercations with that too. I'm not licensed. I'm not bonded. I don't have a degree or a certification to go and do that. So if people are, you know, getting injured or things of that nature, I mean, there was just no plan with it. And so my response back, you know, was asking what was in it for me, or what exactly was the ask. And then the message back was just, you know, now here are the pamphlets. You know, I can't tell you what my business is, but I can throw you a trifold, or I can throw you another PDF or another audio file or another YouTube video to watch to further explain it. And I'm sitting back going, I get the concept. Why me? Why now? And what is your bigger plan? And I get it. People are thirsty. You know, they're out there really trying to make a name for himself. And for a lot of folks, it's a living, and as it should be. I support small business left and right. You know that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I look at. The other thing I look at is, you know, how many followers they have. If you have under 100, and, you know, unless you're a transitioning service member or military spouse that just created an account, and usually we'll have those conversations or just say so. But if you're Timothy Sykes or I shouldn't say that, but if you're an entrepreneur that, you know, you're crushing it and killing it, and you have, you know, 450, and, you know, ambitions are there, but where are we really going with this? And I think that bringing everybody on board, I take it back. I accept a lot of individuals that don't seem too spammy, but I'm telling you, bro, you know, for the first 30 days, I have a physical old style journaled list with number 2 pencil that goes bald every time I write with it. Damn. You know, of pages upon pages upon pages of your names. Mm-hmm. And I go back and I audit and I vet. You know, if you're crushing it, I'm going to come back and see you in 6 weeks. Are you still killing it? Or did you shut it down? Or now did you go from in-home workout routines with individuals that don't want to go to a gym or pay less for a gym membership, and now you're selling flying vacuum cleaners?
Right.
Does it bring value? You know, and one of the biggest things too, and this is just to kind of pivot on that same topic, is I'm really big on making sure that if I bring you into my network, that you have value to everybody else. And it's not just like you're going to produce content and like and share my stuff, and I'm not looking for the marketing scheme. I've got the ability to pay people to do that for me. I don't have to go out and organically reach if I didn't want to. But if they're going to comment, I can't have a resume guru coming on and commenting if they can't write a resume to save their life. I can't have people come on that want to promote business and want to promote employment, but they don't really like to hand out W-2s, or they want to do cash under the table. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, if it's crooked, if it's something that can harm my clientele, I think, or my following, if it's something that can harm them, then I'm very cautious. And that's the thing, is I'm always thinking about you first, you know, whether it's a business deal or whether it's clientele. That's what I feel really gets me out of there and gets me put on to this experience with LinkedIn. Is I don't even, where I falter the most with LinkedIn, and let everybody know right now, everybody watching, what I fail with most with LinkedIn is the inability to define what it is that I want out of it. Because right now it's such a broad topic. What I want from LinkedIn is I want you all to have success through me. And if that's bridging a gap, I might not be the guy. I might not be the subject matter expert. I might have to take you, but I know somebody on the East Coast. But isn't that not what it's for? It's a networking platform. And I think what we really need to do is we need to look at changing the conversation from what can LinkedIn do for me, or what can I do with LinkedIn for other people. And I think now that I'm using LinkedIn in a different capacity, to where I'm looking at using my LinkedIn to do to have content and to push things out for others, I'm out there for you. So along the way, these other opportunities come up. And I think that that's the conversation that really needs to come up, is if you're out there doing stuff for other people, then naturally things are going to come your way. But everybody wants to go out and they want the whole thing. Everybody wants to go out and they want to rush it. Everybody wants to throw up one post and they go, oh, wow, I've got 1,000 people that viewed it. I've got 30 comments. And the next day they post something which they work all night on, and they might get 2 likes, and their buddy might comment on it. And all they get.
It's happened to me multiple times, sure.
It should. It happens every day. It happens to me all the time. You know, but I'm not trying to go 100-0.
Yeah.
I mean, let it be very clear to everybody watching. When I put out content, when I'm out there publicly speaking, not everybody's going to agree with me. But once again, I'm going for one person. I'm trying to change the life of one. And if I do it heavy enough, I end up changing the life of a handful or of a group. And that's where it becomes powerful.
There's one more point that I want to make here.
Yep.
When it comes to, because I'm the same way, I'm very particular about the people that I accept. And in the real estate industry, right, you've got to imagine I get bombarded with lenders and just industry professionals who are being trained to go after everybody, right? So they have no real personal connection to me. It's just because of my position as a managing broker and an entrepreneur, I'm interesting to them for that purpose, and they're trying to sell me something, right? And as somebody who's been a real estate investor since I got out of the military as a flipper, There are a lot of gurus out there that will teach these $3.99 weekend boot camps on how to flip houses, right? You hear them on the radio, you see ads about them, and
it's terrible.
I've been to a couple of them just for kicks and giggles, just because I wanted to see, like, hey, from the educated perspective, what's being pushed out there. And these people are being taught pretty gray area tactics on how to get leads and how to talk to people and how to manipulate your pipeline. And I think industry professionals in general are taught a lot of the same things when it comes to LinkedIn, where they're being taught to, you're going to identify your target market, and you're just going to, if there's 100,000 people in that target market, then you're going to send the same message to every single one of them. And I get those messages almost weekly, where people are like, hey, I'm a nationwide lender that can help your clients, and here's the pamphlet on how I can help your people. And those get denied. Every single one of them. It's the same thing on Facebook. Like, if you send me that, you have 10 minutes to forward this to 10 people or you're going to have bad luck this year. Like, no, those die with me. Yeah. Because I just don't play that game. And so you really do have to be cognizant of the information about how to use this platform, because you have to understand the motivation of who's teaching it.
Right.
I think that's one of the biggest things to listen to here. And what you just said speaks to that exactly. I'm not here asking what can I get from LinkedIn or what can I get from you as a connection on LinkedIn. I'm looking at it from the perspective of, if you want to be in my network, what value can I give to you?
Yep.
And what value are you going to give to the other people who are asking for, who have asked for the same permission to come into my network?
Right. At the end of the day, Steve Lynch is going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be just fine. But I think that, by changing the conversation, maybe it is a little bit too much blind trust in people I don't know. But, if I'm hooking others up, and if that's going along, then that reputation starts to get built that, not only is there value there because people are getting connected and I have a lot to bring to the table, but opportunities just fall into the box, and it's like flicking a quarter, the moment you stop concentrating so much on it, it'll just dance everywhere. And it allows me to pivot and worry about other things in life, really. I mean, and the other thing too, when it comes to watching and vetting people to be in my network, and for people out there to understand, for every 100 people I bring on, there's probably maybe less than 5 people, if not 1 or 2, that get the deny button. I send them a message, and I'm respectful. I let them know why I'm not bringing them on board. And then one of the telling tales on that is if they respond to it. If they dump it, then it didn't matter to begin with. But if they respond back, then, and I'm not saying it's like judge and jury to get on my network. I'm not that important. But, one of the other things, and I'm just starting with LinkedIn, and I'm not as fluid in other platforms, but I ask you, where else can you go and pick an individual that's not even in your network and go down to their activity and see all of their comments that are already pre-positioned and filtered to where you could just go chronologically to what they've said. And so there's been a few, negative Nancys out there that I open it up and all they do is just troll and bash everybody's ideas. And I think that that's something in social media that, has been predominant. But once again, going back to LinkedIn, that's not what the space is for. And a lot of us, we've done a good job of refining to keep it all about the business, or keep it all positive, or keep it all motivational. And, even though some of the bashing, and I'm not saying like constructive criticism or debating on a topic, by all means, I encourage it. I encourage the individuals to come and call me out when they think that they have a different perspective, as long as they understand that when I speak to you, I'm speaking to entry to executive level, not to you mid-level about what your specific journey was and the fact that I got it all wrong because you did it a specific way. Because the way you did it isn't going to work for the individual who is going to be a minimum wage janitor, and it sure as hell isn't going to help the individual that's going C-suite. So I'm talking broad. I'm talking overall, and then we can pick conversations or pick different things where I can talk to individuals one-on-one about what it is you done or you need to do to get to that level or where you're at. But I get a lot of that too. And so I'll look, but when I'm talking about bashing, I'm talking about severe bashing.
Trolling.
I mean,
hardcore trolling.
And right now I like to call it, the social media politicians. I mean, they toss it out there. Like, you could talk about, I was reading an article about Boeing's CEO stepping back. and I'm reading the threads, and I love to read comments. When you see people say, I'm here for the comments, I mean, to the true fashion, sometimes that's me. And I was reading on how they were talking about Boeing and its resiliency and the 737 MAX and the KC-46 tanker, things that just in 2019 weren't the strongest moments for Boeing.
Right.
And then somehow, 15, 20 down, President Donald Trump is thrown in there. And it doesn't have a place in the conversation. Like, it just doesn't. I could care less how you feel about the guy. Boeing's CEO was stepping back. It was influencing the market. It's changing right now as we speak, the direction and the dynamics in which Boeing's going to go as an organization. Donald Trump has nothing to do with it.
Literally 0% has to do with Donald Trump. I see that kind of stuff all the time. And it's not just Trump.
And the other thing I like about LinkedIn is the fact that, rather than people going on there and complaining or going after these big, huge, even professional organizational issues in business, I meet a lot more people who are in a lot deeper control of the little things they can control that feed into the overall cause, and it changes their mentality gravely, and then the rest of it doesn't matter. And so that's something that I've latched onto as well when I go out and I'm trying to show other people what I'm doing with LinkedIn. Like, hey, look, I'm not trying to change homelessness, and I'm not, I'm trying to help and aid and contribute to that. I alone cannot stop that problem. I alone cannot give you more child development centers and more, daycare centers and loosen licensing. I'm not running for politics or doing anything like that. However, when there's an opportunity that comes up within my control, I can tell you about it. And maybe if I can't change the big thing, if I can give you 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 little things to change, then the bigger things don't really matter as much anymore. And I think that's what it is.
It's huge.
It's huge.
So let's pivot a little bit towards, I always like to talk about action, because what we've talked about so far is a lot of theory.
Yep.
And I think the theory is important, especially when we talk about my 90-10 rule.
Yep.
And preparing for, building that roadmap and where to go. Where did you start? Let's go back to the beginning. How did you get integrated into LinkedIn? And I'm sure you learned a lot of things. So I'm sure we can siphon this down a little bit. But for somebody, because ideally we're talking to people who haven't started this path yet.
Yeah.
So we want to build a roadmap. And I always get asked a lot, like, how do you build a business plan? Where do you start?
Right.
Well, you start with the table of contents. Let's start with that. So when it comes to LinkedIn, if we wanted to get to where you are today,
Yep.
Looking back, what would you tell people? Where would you start? What would you really be hitting hard?
Well, I would just I would take it back and start with a good engineered profile and make sure that you're hitting all the marks and really doing your best to always constantly go back and modify or go ahead and fix that up and change it where it's necessary. But when it comes to actually getting up and running past that point and really dropping, good content or engaging, is I would just be an observer. I would go back and I would look at a bunch of content, and then from that content, maybe take it over to Reddit. Maybe take it over to a different dynamic to where you're reading about, 2020's top hashtags right now of where the volume's at. See where it makes sense. Go and see what other people are doing. And then along the way, try for yourself. And I think that what is really big is you need to understand what every action that you do on LinkedIn, what delivers for you. So for me, and this is where it gets a little difficult to explain to people because people go, okay, that's a lot, is I'm writing everything down and I'm always analyzing what's going on. So I'll take maybe a calendar that's, broken down in 24 hours, and I'll say, these hashtags were used here and these hashtags were used there. One of the things, and I've been harping a lot lately on the whole hashtag thing because I think it's a huge opportunity that's underutilized. I think there's a lot of people, even on mine, that, maybe somebody comes up with a resume and they want to push it out because they want them to get employed. And let's say it's in the IT field. Why aren't they tagging, these companies? Why aren't they tagging these different fields of people that'll see and get that exposed? Because it's not just about, I'm going to share your stuff so that my 2,500 can see that you're looking for work. I have the means to put up millions of potential viewers, depending on engagement, that can see that. Now, all of a sudden, Microsoft might catch that resume, and now they might be interested in having a conversation with that individual, but they're also going to want to maybe have a conversation with me too, because I'm the one that introduced it, or they're saying that I'm cultivating this. And so that's the place where I would just become very mindful of, is just, studying and really seeing what other people are doing. And then from there, it could be as simple as liking and sharing and commenting and just putting your 2 cents. And maybe what's also cool about that too is, and it's really helpful, not only that, but to the authors of these posts is, counter it with a question. If you only get so many characters, or you only get so much time to put up that photo or that video, you can't cover everything. So ask something a little bit deeper, right? And now you're engaging in content, and now the results from that piece become way more valuable for anybody that might come across it in the future, because they might be saying, okay, this is a piece of good content. It was a good photo, video, word, whatever. And then there's a lot of comments here, but then there's questions. And really the answer to the real value of that piece isn't face value. Now it's within. And it's developing that platform to where everybody can now come in and have an opinion and can help guide each other and take the conversation wherever it may be. And who knows, you might be able to uncover a lot of different aspects, and just in that one piece now becomes a volume or a book or a guide on everything that person was struggling with. Now their life is improved. Now their family's life is improved, and now they're back on the scene helping others. Where are we on that topic? Why aren't we going there?
That's definitely super big. And I think to that point too, I think people undervalue what I would call the social depth strategy, where instead of posting content, which I think is very valuable, but interacting with other content, I think people think in their mind, especially in the beginning, well, if I'm posting content, it's going to be seen by people, but if I just comment, it's only going to be seen by the poster, by the author.
Yeah.
And I think that's so inaccurate. If I could give any best practice, it's you need to weigh both. You need to jump into conversations that are relevant to what you're trying to accomplish and engage. Like, share, comment, tag, and be engaging with that. And I think that could be seen by a bigger variety of people, because you're latching onto their following.
Yep.
You got somebody who's got 100,000 followers, and you just post that comment, you're going to get way more views on that. And although the analytics don't show you,
it's crazy how it works.
You're going to get a lot more views on that than you will your original content.
Crazy how it works. And like you're right, the analytics may not show you at face value everything you would see with your own content on that. But when you go and you look at my network and you're sitting with 35 or 40 requests to connect, and I'm telling you, I've seen it.
Yeah, I have too.
That's where it's at. And then now all of a sudden they are digging in your stuff, and and it's just a very powerful thing. And it's crazy too when you think about it. Like, if you would imagine, this isn't probably the way that it actually works, but I almost feel like, if I was to email a CEO of a company right now, or let's just say a department head or a program director, if I was to email them blindly and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this, chances are one of two things is going to happen. Chances are either they're going to delete it because they don't have the bandwidth and it doesn't fit what they have going on, or it looks spammy. Or they're going to give it to their best approximate guess based off of what they think they know about me, and give it to somebody a little bit more lateral to handle, which is going to take you down about 2 or 3 floors in the organization to try to work your way back up. That's what I've kind of experienced and been told. However, I could go to your LinkedIn profile and I can send you a DM and I can engage with your content, and now nobody cares about that email anymore. Now I'm having a direct conversation, and it's crazy. And I think that's like the real cool thing about it is I'm having conversations with professional athletes. I'm having conversations with Fortune 500 CEOs. I'm having conversations with, I was having a conversation the other day with one of the politicians and individuals out of Australia about the wildfires. I mean, it's there. It's there. Go on Twitter and go hashtag, Joe Rogan or something like that, and see if out of 1 billion tweets and all those little things or whatever Twitter does, see if you get attention. Or go on LinkedIn, send a meaningful message, try to connect with them, and see if, your chances of getting a response, if not something further, is there. Because he can go back and look at your content now. And I'm just going to throw this out there. And if one day, if this ever happens, I swear to God, put it down on whatever. And Joe Rogan, tell your lawyers we're going to use this clip. We're going to go ahead and put this together. But if this was to land me on his show one day just because he could look at the way that I interact on podcasts and my views on things, oh my God.
I'd lose my mind.
Yeah.
I've told people all the time because I don't even know what I would do if Joe Rogan came here, because he was here in Tacoma not long ago with Dave Chappelle doing his stand-up routine. I'm like, man, if I could get him on, I would lose my mind.
And I'm telling you, you have a better chance when you're engaging with social media or when you're taking these different organic reach avenues, maybe not only just to get to him, but his audience, and maybe that's the way it goes. So I guarantee you, I would be willing to put it on the line to challenge anybody out there from using social media and using LinkedIn specifically in the professional marketing, business to business, organizational world. I will challenge you that I will beat you. You will be in my dust if you think that you're going to take your generic email lists and, try to cram it all into words versus what someone could interact with my content. And that's the way we're going.
There's also a big piece of what we've been talking about earlier in the mindset of value. Mm-hmm. I think this is really where that piece of that plugs into this conversation, because if I'm sending a LinkedIn DM or I'm engaging in content, I'm still generically going to be in the mindset of what can I take? Mm-hmm. But if I really want to grab their attention, it isn't going to be features and benefits of what you can offer. It's what really is truly going to be valuable to that individual. I think that is one of the biggest points to be made. Let's think just for a second, not about what you think is going to be valuable to them, but looking at a bunch of different facts of their profile and their engagement. What is going to be interesting to them? And then base everything that you say off of that intel, right? I think that has a lot to do with it, being able to really attack what's valuable from their perspective. Put yourself in their shoes for 2 seconds and think about what's really going to catch their attention.
It's a lot that, you have to consider. That's what makes it so tricky. And, I'm not saying that everybody can just go out there and just blow up. And not everybody wants to be like an internet sensation. Mm-hmm. Not everybody wants to be a keynote speaker. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But if you're looking for an opportunity, and even if you don't want to be loud, but you want to be small, you can still be impactful. You can go and chase down what it is you're looking for quicker than you can Google it yourself, quicker than you can blindly try to get somebody's attention through a handshake or a quick minute that they don't have. If you want a job, if you want an opportunity, if you want a contract, if you want a partner, if you want a business, if you want to make a sale, it's just, this is where the reach is at.
So this is what I'm hearing from you. If I wanted to be a viral sensation, I can be.
Sure.
If I want something small, like I want a new job, I can do that.
Absolutely.
So what you're telling me is I, as the person behind my LinkedIn profile, have my own feet on the gas and the brake.
Always.
And I can control how fast or slow this goes.
Always. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they just really have their feet stuck on the brake.
Yeah.
And that's where it really... That's what keeps me up at night, is just why are we not using this grossly undervalued space? Why are we looking at all these different avenues? And the other thing, too, is not to put each other down over it. You could blatantly tell, I know the difference between individuals, like we've mentioned before, that hit you up. There was a quick story. There was a young lady that hit me up about a week ago on LinkedIn, and she was talking about helping the military community. She was a very extremely successful businesswoman according to her LinkedIn profile, which is great because, it's hard to flub and mess that up. So everything was there. She had it going on. The only problem is she wanted the military community because she is a professional resume writer. And that sounds like a great idea, right? Except she had a military discount of $350 for a cover letter.
Whoa. That was the discount? Oh my God.
Yeah. You can look it up. It's actually, they actually have a lot more expensive things out there other than that. And she wants to be put in front of the military community because she wants that military money.
Yeah.
And so that's a hard decision because I get it, and that's the way that, civilians have always done. Civilians, that's how they do each other. Here's a deal, make some money, this, that, and the third. We're coming out of a community and a demographic, though, where it's available for free. So until it's not available for free, I encourage everybody out there to stop or quit paying for those services. You can go on and you can find somebody with an MBA who's credentialed, who has a resume writing or all this other stuff, you can connect with them and develop a relationship long enough that they're willing to look and critique your stuff. They might even fix it for you.
Yeah.
So why go out and spend your money?
You bring up a very good point, and I don't think it's relevant to LinkedIn, but it's relevant to this global conversation. And I deal with this a lot in the real estate space too, where, and I've, any vet knows if you've been outside of a veteran geographic location, so like we're in the JBLM area right now. So if we were in, Spokane's a bad example because there's Fairchild out there. Let's just take a non-military community and look at the type of businesses and who they're targeting in that space. Nobody's going to market themselves as a military specialist because it doesn't matter. It's not relevant. But now let's take JBLM, or like I was at Fort Wainwright or Fort Knox or anywhere else.
Sure.
That's a military community. All of a sudden, everybody and their mother has in their email signature military specialist, right? Because that's that military money.
Bless
right?
their souls.
Yeah, bless their souls. But there are a lot of people who, because they want that to be the main demographic that they work in, just arbitrarily give themselves that tag. There's nothing that gave it to them. Mm-hmm. They never served in the military. They're not connected to the military in any way, but they are a military specialist. I see it a lot in loan officers.
Yep.
I see it a lot in real estate agents, especially.
Social services, employment, financial, education, wherever,
car dealerships.
Surprise healthcare is not doing it yet.
I know, right? So that's something that I think it's surprising to me because I see it and I'm like, oh, that's very clearly you're just wearing that. It's like stolen valor. Somebody putting on a Purple Heart where they were never even in the military. Maybe they never got that. I view it the same way, and so it bugs me when people claim to be military specialists when it's very clear that you just want the money. Right. You just want to make sales to military people.
You're GI Bill certified. You're VA home loan certified. Got it. Even to an extent.
But people still buy vets. Yeah. Our brothers and sisters still buy into stuff like that, and it does drive me a little crazy to see that because it's like, it's not real. But they're painting it like it's real. So it's like let's be critical for 2 seconds here to identify that. But that resume writer, that's what prompted that thought in my mind.
Well, yeah, and it should be. It's very important, and it goes, back to LinkedIn profile. I mean, a lot of people right now on my network, I don't know what happened. I got to go and look to see where it actually stemmed from, if it stemmed from anywhere. But there's a lot of talk right now versus practitionership versus pontification. It's free.
Yeah.
It's free information. So someone's opinion or views or facts might be very well off, but as long as you're not paying for that, you have nothing to be mad at. It's free. Keep scrolling. Keep moving. If you don't like it, don't engage with it. If you don't like it, get off of it. If you don't like it, unfollow it. If you don't like it, forget the password. If you don't like it, throw your phone out the window. I don't care what it is you have to do, but it's free.
Yeah.
So the only time that, I really get worked up about it, like I said, is if, this person over here is developing a free service, regardless of the quality of it. It's free, versus the individual over here that wants to charge you top dollar for that. And I think that's where the conversation is really better for me, is what's really at cost here.
Yeah. You
watched a video and you don't like the opinion?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Right.
All right. But... yeah, but people will go, oh, well, I'll go pay $350 for Sally B to write my resume. Okay. And then, that's cool, but is Sally B also going to coach you on that interview? Yes, Sally B will, for about another $500. So understand this. Understand this moving forward with that the information, the templates and information out there are just free. And, if people are struggling to be able to not find it for free, then they need to reevaluate the space that they're in.
Or ask better questions to the right people.
There's a website that I use a lot. GOOGLE.com.
I've heard that's very popular. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, if reading isn't your strong suit, YouTube.
Love YouTube.
And there's that little microphone icon where you don't have to type it. You can say it, and it'll pull it up for you. I mean, it's just out there, And I think that we just need to be a little bit more mindful of that. But I think that also we need to support others out there that are that are doing it. People out there that are producing content. It's not easy to do. There's a lot of sacrifice that go with that. I mean, my family's in the next room on a Saturday allowing me to do this. Now, granted, it's going to be expensive because I'm going to take them out and, take care of them. But, it takes a lot to put into it. And if you're not willing to step up and do your own video, if you're not willing to step up in front of 500 people, I mean, I love those people. I eat them alive. I eat their lunch every day, Well, Steve, everybody says that message. Cool. We'll come up here and say it again. Oh, I don't talk in front of people. All right, cool. Enjoy it. Like, comment, share. Move on. I don't hear the boos and I don't hear the cheering. It's become very, very quiet for me moving forward. And, but I do pay attention. I do respect it. I do answer every comment. I do answer every message that I think is of value, which is 99.9% of them, unless it says I'm a bot and just give me your last four, your social security number and a routing number, and I'll make you a millionaire. But I do pay attention. I do engage with my crowd, but I don't let it affect me. I don't care if I put up a post and, there was one post that I put up. I think it was a botched. It was supposed to be a joke, and I learned this the hard way. I put it up on LinkedIn. I think you might remember it. It was a resume that I put up, and it was basically like everything you shouldn't write as a transitioning military member on a resume was written. And people were like, well, thanks for making us look stupid, and thanks for giving us a bad name, and thanks for blah, blah. And I mean, okay, it was a little bit heavy, but it didn't affect me. I mean, because I still moved forward with it because I'm a veteran as well, and it just went to go highlight that, yeah, this is the way it looks. And if you are able to identify that it's a trash resume and that it's a very, very bad joke towards, the veteran community, then you understand that it happens. And you have something to measure now what bad looks like and what successful looks like when it comes to the resume or when it comes to anything else that you're doing. But I think that people need to take a step back and, whatever they're not willing to take on themselves as far as criticism, they need to really step back and watch how they're dishing it out to other people because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And like I said, at the end of the day, free information is free information. Take from it what you want or don't. That's it. Or don't.
It's huge. Well, as we wrap this up, I want to ask a question.
Yep.
Speaking of comments, we definitely want people to interact.
Yep.
What do you think would be interesting to ask this audience that wants to grow audience, wants to grow engagement?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that I would like to create. So for this, my ask to my audience is this, and this has been weighing on my mind for a while. What is the next level? What is the next thing to do with LinkedIn that hasn't been done yet? What are your testimonials out there? I can't be the only one. And my LinkedIn network is filled with the finest individuals in any profession. What are you doing to affect things? Maybe not on a larger scale, but just something small. And it could be something personal. Maybe you've started doing something in the year 2020 that you haven't done before. Maybe you're taking, a new jump and leap into the unknown. What projects do you have going on? And where can we collaborate, or what can we do in the future? I know you and we have a ton of things that are going to be rolling out this year that are going to really change the landscape. And I'm excited for that. But what are other people doing? And, are you willing to share that with others with basically no expectation towards yourself? I mean, what's the mentality? So what are the other projects out there that are being stemmed up, that are beyond the 9 to 5, that are beyond check the block?
And also, what are you doing with LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
That's bigger, right?
Absolutely.
I know for us, we were talking about this before we went, live or not live, but,
right.
We want to really get LinkedIn's attention.
Yep.
On a corporate level.
Yep.
And we want them talking about us so they can give us one of those highly coveted LinkedIn Live abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So we can actually interact with an audience like this in a live format. We can do it on Facebook. We can do it on YouTube, but we can't. It's still very beta or very limited, at least on the LinkedIn Live platform. So LinkedIn, if you're listening, and we hope you are,
you will be.
We want your attention for 2 minutes so we can have a conversation with you.
That's big.
So we can talk about our 2020 vision for LinkedIn. Anyway, really hope everybody got a lot of value out of this. I think this is only going to be one of many videos that we sit down and talk about. This was, I wanted our first episode to be very theory driven, mindset driven, because I think that is where it begins. When I start a new project, it's not about the logistics. It's not about the team. It's about my mindset going into it and making sure that I'm setting up the right culture for everybody else who comes in behind us, because there are going to be people that I think reach out because of this that want more information, that want to be a part of the projects that we're doing. And I want to make sure that they're coming in with the right mindset.
Right.
It's important that you come to the table thinking about, how can I contribute to what's going on?
Right.
How can I give without the expectation of return? And I have endless examples of how that's going to give you way more than you thought you were going to get. So
I am going to bring people in and show and demonstrate how I can get a lot more opportunity and a lot more of a genuine following off of honey versus vinegar.
One last thing. How can people watching this content help us? How can they help boost this conversation specifically? I'm thinking comment and tag people in the comments.
Yep.
You can react to it. So heart it,
Curious,
like it.
And that's another thing, is be honest with it. Like,
Yeah.
if you love it, throw a heart up there.
Yep.
If you want to celebrate it, throw the hands up there. If you think it's mindful, throw that little purple people eater, whatever it is, on there.
Right.
Throw it up there. I mean, it contributes to it. And it goes to show how many people like it, how many people love it. If it's celebratory, then we should be celebrating, And I think that, that is something that could help out. And I think sharing it and just going through and listening to each other and just bringing up the awareness of what's going on. And it doesn't have to necessarily be my content. If you don't feel like it's value, don't share it. If you don't like it, don't share it. If you don't like it, don't like it, But if there is, throw it out to somebody and keep it going. And, just don't let it be the scroll shuffle of letting it go by. And I think the thing is just treating everybody with respect, and understanding that, everybody has a vision of trying to what their own success looks like, just don't try to derail it all the time,
Yeah. Yeah. And the only reason I bring that up is because we're going to be, in further episodes, we're going to be talking specifics about the algorithm.
Yes.
Because this really is the core of any social media platform, and how the platform is viewing this piece of content.
Right.
And a lot of that comes down to, especially in the very beginning, there's a certain time window where engagement in between certain times really makes a big difference. And that's what opens up what I call the floodgates of organic view. And obviously, we want to show proof of concept for the people out there on how do I get, if I only have 300 connections on LinkedIn, how do I get seen by 50,000?
Yep.
Right? We want to talk about that, and
we're
going to
through
talk
all
about
that.
that. We're gonna walk through that. And so the more attention you help us get is really going to bump us up and just show you more proof of concept. That's all. We don't just want to give you theory. We want to talk about practicality, and we want to talk about how anybody can do this.
Right.
Because I didn't start in LinkedIn, and I don't think you did either, knocking it out of the park.
Nope.
I didn't. I know that for sure. So this is a solvable equation.
Yep.
And we're going to show you that.
And I think that's what's cool too, is with the engagement and with the other things that pop when you use social media and when you're really actively listening and engaging with content, is you're creating other avenues and other topics and other opportunities. Like, the first thing that I credit my success and everything to with LinkedIn thus far is you all, the network. I mean, you're the ones that have turned it from 5 followers to where it's gotten, and brings in the energy. It's just to be able to orchestrate that, to grab your attention at the right times, to have you do something with it in a very respectful manner that delivers something and keeps it moving. I'll worry about unpacking that and itemizing it on the backside. But, without the engagement, without the opportunities, we don't have a story to tell. And, that's what's really cool about what I want to do. Is I'm looking to demonstrate. I want to pull in the future, and we've talked about this. Some of the projects we're pulling is I'm gonna rip open a post, and I want to be able to do one, in front, and then come back and show this is what's going on with it, and really break down and talk about that, and the reason why we're doing it. And I think that's
It's huge.
Exciting.
Seeing the nuts and bolts is a lot different than us just talking about it. I think doing things like screen shares and actually walking through, okay, hey, we haven't talked about this yet. Let's build a post.
Because we want them to watch the video and then jump off and do it and then sit there glued to their screens like we were the first time going, oh my God, it works.
All of these ideas are only as good as their execution.
Yep.
And that's any idea, I feel like. But so thank you for watching. Like, comment, share. We'd love to hear your opinions.
Absolutely.
Like to hear about your successes. We'd like to hear about it all. So make sure to leave some comments. We want to engage and interact with you. But thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. We obviously love getting together and talking about anything business related, but LinkedIn is definitely a passion project for us in 2020 as we build that 2020 vision. So have a great rest of your weekend or week, wherever you happen to be falling while you're watching this. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Love you guys.
See ya.